lot of similarities between this Georgia team and the Arkansas team that we just played. Um, Georgia's a top 35 defensive team in the country. They average 5.5 blocks, which is 10th nationally. Um, they're 18th nationally at holding teams down at the three-point line, about 29%. So this is a team that plays really hard, really physically, and is really locked in defensively. Um, First go around is that we have 3 of our last 5 games are against teams that we've played already. And one of the things that we don't do is we don't hold cards. In other words, even though all 3 were on the road, um, we showed our best hand. This is how we think our best chance is to win. Um, and So it's always interesting to see what adjustments get made the second go around. In other words, whatever the things that we decide to do that may be different, they may not actually be better than what we did the first time. Thought we played really well. We made 12 threes in that game. With Todd making, I think, a season high 5 for him, and Chad Baker had 3. 8 of our 12 three balls. So we had to play extremely well. It was one of our best defensive efforts, at least for the first, let's say, 35 minutes of that game. And of course, we played it the first time around without Janai, and so having Janai back, um, will be a boost.
Bruce, when you guys went back and watched the film of that Arkansas game, do you feel like the shots, especially the 3-pointers, were just good looks that weren't falling, or what was kind of the
Yeah, I thought it was a combination of we definitely missed some shots that we have made in the past, and so we got some good looks. I do think there was some wasted possessions with some bad shots and some careless turnovers, and didn't where we did not value the possession. Some of it, was good defense on Arkansas. Georgia's going to put a lot of pressure on the ball. They're going to extend. They're going to heat us up at point guard, and we've got to be able to handle that pressure. But I thought overall it was a combination of we missed some good looks we normally make, and we didn't value the possession well enough.
Bruce, last year when y'all went to Georgia was kind of Chad's coming out party for you guys, and then kind of continued the rest of the way. He continues to have really high efficiency numbers on offense. What does he kind of do to open up you guys on the offensive end of the floor?
Well, Chad Baker-Mazara is like having another point guard out there on the floor, particularly in ball screen actions. I trust Chad. We put the ball in Chad's hands because he can score for himself, shoot behind any kind of screening action, get downhill, make plays with either hand, and he's got great vision. He's our best playmaker out of the ball screen, and so really truly, having another point guard out there on the floor at 6'7" is a really valuable offensive weapon.
You mentioned having Janai for this one if you didn't have it after not having him the last time. Just how big is that, especially when you have to go up against Asa Newell, who continues to be one of the best rebound and double guys in the league?
I think it's obviously going to be a huge boost for us. He's the best player in college basketball, and Georgia has got a really deep front line, and so we were definitely down bodies at Georgia. You recall Jaheim Hudson played great for us in his stead, and but Georgia's really good inside. I mean, this is a very good front line. Asa Newell will be a lottery pick, and as a power forward, and they've got a 3-headed monster at center that all 3 of those guys do different things. So Georgia's got a very talented, very deep, front line that, and so getting Janai back will be a big boost on both ends of the floor.
We talked about Miles's rebounding the other night, but he had career high 4 steals as well. He had that one where he dove into the crowd and made the play. Just his defense. I know you've talked about how much he's come on, but to be as impactful of a player he is on that end, just how big is that for y'all?
Yeah, I mean it's the size and the length and the toughness and the ability to cover and challenge shots with all of our guards now. Again, it starts with Denver Jones for sure, but Miles came here to be able to have this kind of year and demonstrate that he's a 3-and-D guy at the next level. and he's always been 3 guy, and now he's the D guy as well. And as well as defensive rebound. And so he's doing a lot of what he obviously came here to do. It's made a big difference in our ability to win. That, we are able to put, 3 or 4 guys out there on the perimeter that can move their feet, they can guard. And Todd Pettifor, while he's both a freshman and undersized, which are 2 real challenges defensively, has improved and is extremely coachable on that end. And we need him to continue to elevate his game defensively and make plays off the ball and not get lined up because he's undersized.
Bruce, last week you talked about drawing up stuff for Chaney at Vandy. You drew up some stuff for him in Alabama. Then he has a really big second half against Arkansas. Have you kind of seen those decisions to purposely make him involved in the offense? Have you kind of seen that grow his confidence a little bit?
Yeah, I'm sure. I think there are a couple things. Hard work won't guarantee success, but without hard work, I guarantee you won't have success. It's your choice, and Chaney's chosen to work hard, which gives him confidence. He feels prepared. He should feel prepared. Add that now to more recent success on the floor at both ends of the floor, and Chaney, is absolutely. I haven't studied it very much, but both Chaney and Tahad, it'd be hard. I'd be hard pressed to think of who has anybody better coming off the bench than those 2 guys.
Bruce, you guys have had 3 really good defensive games after the loss to Florida. How much of that would you put down to effort versus, schematically or any other, changes in the game plan?
Well, I think that Florida putting 90 on us probably got our attention a little bit, and so maybe because I've been asked that a lot about how big was the Florida loss and how much did it affect you, and it's a good thing we lost in February and all those kind of classic stereotypical thoughts. But, Florida did put up 90 on us. Alabama did shoot 35 free throws at Alabama. That's a lot of free throws. And so if we want to control our destiny, we got to do a better job of defending without fouling. Georgia is a tremendous offensive rebounding team, and that was a huge point of emphasis for us going over there. I mean, keep in mind, we played one of our best games over there, and they had the ball with a chance to win it at the end. So it'll take another really, really great effort to get them.
Bruce, how much do you guys like starting the game with Chris on the floor? You've done it now for a few games in a row. Chad came in here and talked about how you guys have been getting off to a good start with him out there. Just how much is that a boost?
Yeah, well, Chad's clearly going to end games and is clearly the player at the position. But Chad and I talked before the game about whether he wanted to come back and start now, how he felt about it. And he said, you know what, we've been starting well the last few games, so let Chris stay in there. So I'll talk to him again today or tomorrow, and so that's probably going to see how that goes. This being Chris's last year, senior year, it gives us more firepower off the bench, and as long as Chad can come in, and it's really nice for him to be able to come in and do what he can do. Then we get stronger.
You mentioned this a little bit with Arkansas before the game. It's kind of similar with Georgia. How much more challenging or competitive does it make these games when you're playing against these teams that are on the bubble, kind of playing for everything in this last stretch of the season?
Georgia has had the week off, and so they're going to be, obviously, this is probably the most important game. I think the Auburn game there, where they were undefeated at home and nationally ranked, that was one of their bigger games. And I think this one here now, simply because of what the math does for them. Our net one is so strong because of the number of quad one wins. This probably moves them from being off the bubble or wherever they're at, they're close to being right in the tournament. And so you say to your guys, hey man, we may not be better than Auburn, but we could be 40 minutes better than Auburn. And you look at Arkansas, and say, okay, I guess right now we're 11-1 in the league. Is that what we are? Okay. We're 12-1 in the league. Okay, and Arkansas is what in the league? 4-9. Okay, the difference between 12-1 and 4-9 was 7 points at home, and it was and with 3 minutes left to go, a 4-9 team had a 3-point lead. So what's the difference between us and Arkansas? Just a little difference. So yeah, it tells you that that all 40 minutes matter.
Anything else?
Down to the wire in the first game in Athens. What are you guys kind of expecting Georgia to do again, like they did last game?
Well, I think they'll go inside. They've been going inside more and more offensively, feeling really comfortable with that. And you know, they've got a good inside out attack. They haven't shot the three ball by percentage as well, but they got some guys that can shoot it, and they're going to continue to. They're going to roll. They're going to roll as far as their defense takes them. They're a really good defensive team.